Hello 10th grade students. So right now we're going to do course selection for 11th grade, which I know sounds really crazy, but this year has gone by really quickly and it's about that time to start looking at next year. So the first thing you need to worry about is finishing 10th grade, finishing off strong. If you have any questions about that or need assistance, make sure you talk with your teachers or your school counselors. So let's get going. All your advisory teachers should have handed out this form. Don't write on it yet. I know you really want to go ahead and just start scribbling all over it, and because you know the system, but it's changed a little bit, and we don't want you to make a mistake, because if you make a mistake on this sheet, then there could be a mistake on your schedule, and we don't want that to happen. So follow along with me as we go through it together. The first section is a personal information section, and you can start filling it out right now. Just don't move ahead. So the first part is your name, your signature, your school enrolled in 1415, so BDCHS, homeroom teacher, the date, your student ID number, and you did a parent or guardian signature. So I know you may be wondering, like, hey, Mr. G, how are they going to sign it? Well, here's how. So after this lesson, and after you fill out this form, you're going to give it to your homeroom teacher, who's going to hand it to student services. We're then going to photocopy it and give it back to your teacher, who's going to give it to you to bring home to sign, and then you're going to turn it back into your teacher, who's going to give it to us. So long story short, you're going to turn it in. Early next week, it's going to come back to you, probably like Monday or Tuesday. You're going to get it signed, and then you're going to bring it back into your homeroom teacher. Okay. So the next piece on this sheet is this little blurb right here, and I'm going to read through it because it's super important. Students at BDCHS are required to take 8 credits each year. You all know that. That's 8 classes. Please be sure that you are following course progressions and prerequisites. So last week in advisory we did the Are You on Track lesson. So hopefully from that you're able to better understand the graduation requirements for your class, and then also be able to see if you're on track with meeting those requirements. If you are not on track, you can always talk with your school counselor and we can help you get back on track. Please remember that if you're covering any credit from first semester, you need to finish that by the associated deadline. All the course progressions and graduation requirements are down here in this little box at the bottom of the sheet. So it kind of just easily goes through it for you, and you can kind of, if you have any questions about it, I'm sure your homeroom teacher could help, or you can always ask us. So then it says courses are not guaranteed. Let me repeat, courses are not guaranteed and may change according to student needs. So the selections you make on this sheet, we're really going to try to make it happen, especially the core. Those you should be getting anyways. But with the elective options, those change. You never know. We did a pretty good job at this is what we plan on having next year. But if students don't select one option, we may change it into another thing. So that could happen. Also, with your unique combination of 8 classes and how they work together, they may not. So one class may be offered at a time you need another class. So that's one reason why you may not get the schedule you desire, or the best schedule. But we're going to work to try to make that happen. Eligibility for course offerings may be contingent upon assessment scores and previous course history. So there are some classes, like intensive reading or math, where based on assessment scores and a few other factors, you may desire that course or need to have that class. So that's one example of assessment score being needed. Please see the BDCHS curriculum guide, which is online, and the curriculum guide has like course descriptions, so on and so forth. If there's a course on here that I feel like students may not understand too well, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so now, hopefully you haven't written anything else in the sheet other than the top information section. So, looking at it first before we fill it out, this first column on the left is the core course offerings, and then the middle column and the rightmost column are elective areas. So we're going to go through them right now and work on this sheet together. So, looking at this, first section is English. You need to select one English class. We have English 3 Honors and AP English Lang for next year. If you're kind of uncertain which one to do, you can always talk with your current English teacher and they can help you out, and so on and so forth. Please note also, before we go through this, that certain courses have summer assignments, and we won't know these exact courses until the summer happens. But you can pretty much figure out that APs generally have summer assignments, English classes generally have summer assignments, Some sciences do, and also some social sciences do. So keep that in mind. So you made one selection there, either English 3 or AP. The next one is math. So you need to select at least one of the following. So depending where you are in your course progression, that'll dictate what you select here. So some of you who started in 9th grade taking algebra here, your next step in the sequence, you're taking geometry right now. So your next step, you have 2. You could either, if you feel confident with your math skills and want to continue, you can do algebra 2. Or if you feel kind of hesitant and shaky about where you're at right now, you can instead go to Math for College Readiness, and it goes over algebra and geometry concepts and goes over those a little bit more. But it's a good course for you to develop that foundation before you go on to the next level. Okay. For those of you who started algebra in 8th grade, so you're taking algebra 2 right now, or Math for College Readiness. If you took Math for College Readiness, the next step in the sequence is algebra 2, because we want all students to take algebra 2. Or if you just take an algebra 2, you can go on to pre-calculus. Okay. Or statistics is another option. So with that, statistics and probability is just that. You're going to be using data and analyzing and interpreting it to draw extrapolations based on the data and make observations. So you're going to be looking at probability, likelihood, mean, median, mode, all those things. So, and then depending if you're super ahead, you could even go to calculus, okay, which is a step above everything else. Alright, so you should have one selected course for mathematics. The next one is the science section, so you want to select at least one of the following. Please note that I know some of you may have finished this requirement this year because you took like physical science in 8th grade. A lot of colleges and universities still want to see you keep going with those. But if you super struggle with science, keep that in mind as well. So science options are marine science. You have Principles of Technology, which is more of an applied physics course, and then you have Physics 1 honors. So talking about Principles of Tech, I'm going to bring out my handy dandy cheat sheet because I want to make sure I give you the most accurate definition you can possibly get of what this course may entail. So, and it's kind of complex. So it'll be looking at the 4 energy systems: mechanical, fluid, thermal, and electrical, as it applies to force, work, rate, resistance, energy, power, and force transformers. Cool stuff. So if that's up your alley, hey, go for it. But also know that there's that physics option, and physics is a course that kind of is a marriage between the science and math. So you're trying to explain scientific phenomena through mathematical operations, which is pretty neat, like gravitational force and so on and so forth. So those are the science options. So you want to select one of those. And I mean, with all these sections, if you're uncertain where to go to next year, you can always talk with the teacher in that subject area that you currently have, and they can help direct you. The next one is social science, so you want to select one of the following, either U.S. History Honors or AP U.S. History. Okay. So the next section is not applicable to some of you, but for some you may think it's a good area for you to take a course in. So there's courses for remediation. I know right now some of you are uncertain what your scores are going to be for the English Language Arts Assessment and also for the Algebra EOC. So we can always update this as this year goes on and as we get those assessment scores. But know that if you also feel like you struggle with those areas a lot and you think this would really be necessary for you or needed for you to do well, you can always select either of those options, the reading or the math. Okay. The next section is, so at this point everyone should have an English, a math, a science, and a social science, regardless of anything else. Okay. Looking at the rest of the page, this is where it kind of gets different because there's no lines to check. Okay. The rest of the page, we're just going to be reviewing options, and then in that last column, way over here in the bottom, there's a ranking. So how this is going to work is you want to rank your top 6 elective choices, okay? And the course you put as your number 1 choice is your most preferred. Number 2 is your second most preferred, so on and so forth. So out of all these, the middle and the side column options, you want to put down those other options. Or if you wanted to take another science, some students do, you can do that, or even a math, like statistics onto something. So looking through these elective options, the main area for a lot of students is that world language area. So if you're currently in a world language, you want to at least get 2 of the same world language. So if you're currently in Spanish 1, you want to just select Spanish 2 as your most preferred option for next year. Or if you're in 2 and you want to continue, so on and so forth, you can do that. French 2 we're going to have, but it's only if you have earned French 1 credit previously. Okay, so there's a disclaimer there. We're just putting that on there to help students finish off their 2 years, essentially. All right. The next area is technology, business, communications options. So the first 2 options and the last option within that category are kind of similar, so I'm going to go through them in a little bit of depth. There's applied computer business skills 1 and 2, computing for college and careers, and applied communications. So the difference between all 3 of these is that computing for college and careers is more of a basic technology course. You're going to be learning about like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, internet browsers, things like that. Applied communications is an English course, so it will involve more reading and writing using those technologies that I just discussed. Okay, so you're going to be analyzing things, researching things, so on and so forth. Applied computer business skills is using those technologies specifically for the business world. Okay. Applied communications and applied computer business skills, we recommend for students to do those together because it just makes sense that way. And schematically, that's what we'd prefer. So keep that in mind. The next option is journalism, and then you have speech, which is like public speaking, which is good. Also note that with these electives, if you've already taken one of these electives before, you can't take them again, for the most part. Some you can, and those come into play more for the next category of vocal instrumental options. So the first one we have is Band 1, and then we have Band 2, and then we have Chorus 1, Chorus 5, which is really cool, which is show choir, so that's something we're really excited about. And then we have keyboard. Keyboard relates to like the piano, basically, not keyboard as in computer keyboard. And then we have orchestra, which is stringed instruments, like violin, so on and so forth. So those are a couple of your options for vocal instrumental options. And then we have PE. Everyone should have done Hope by now, which is required. If you haven't, please make note of it. At the bottom here is a notes comments section. So if anything's weird about where you're at course progression-wise, or you just haven't done anything for requirements, please note it down there. So there's PE options. You have weight training 1 and 2, and all these options, every line of this sheet is a full year. Okay, so like weight training 1 and 2, that's a full year. It's not like it's 2 different options. The next one is team sports 1 and 2. You have aerobics 1 and 2, and then basketball 1 and 2. Aerobics is more oxygen-based, so cardio, as opposed to weight training, which is more static, like lifting. And then you have personal fitness, recreational activities. That'll focus more on the health concepts related to PE and physical fitness and nutrition, things like that. Then you have electives, continued on the last column. There's science electives. There's forensic science, which is more like crime scene, forensics, forensic investigation, analysis, interpretation, things like that. So it's a pretty neat option, and we're really excited about it. And then the next one is experimental science 1. And I got a really good definition from the teacher of that course for next year, and I want to make sure I say it accurately. So it's hands-on project-based course. It's applied science to investigate science and technology through do-it-yourself open source activities using electronics or robotics. So, also, pretty cool stuff. Alright. And then you have social science electives. So we have philosophy, sociology. Philosophy is the study of common questions associated with life and meaning, things like that. You're going to be learning about philosophical theory as it applies to different questions. And then sociology. Sociology is the study of people and how they think, behave, act. Behave is the same as act. Think, feel, behave, all that stuff. Then you have psychology 1 and 2, which is the study of how a person thinks, behaves, feels, so on and so forth. Then you have AP Psych. Please remember that Psych 1 and 2 is recommended to take before you take AP Psych. We just want to make sure you do well on the AP exam at the end of psychology, and you're more likely to do that if you already have a background in foundational knowledge of psychology. And then there's Holocaust and African American history. So remember, that's a full year course. So moving on to dramatic visual arts options, you have acting 1, which is a full year. You have acting 2, which is a full year. You have dance techniques, which is a full year. You have dance techniques 2, which is a full year. Drawing 1 and 2, which is a full year. And then paint 1 and 2, and that's a full year. And then ceramics, pottery 1. And this is also one of those areas where please remember, if you've done a course before, don't do it again. But you can go to the next step in the sequence for especially acting and dance. Okay, so we just went over all the elective options. So from all those, you want to select your top 6. Okay, and it may take you some time, but please try to work through it, so on and so forth. And then also at the end of this last little section, if you are planning on taking dual enrollment English or math options next year, don't include that as any of your selections. We just want to know in our mind if you are planning to do that. So it helps us more with figuring out students and courses and course demand. But it does not count as any of your selections, nor does it count as applying for dual enrollment. So that is a whole nother process, and if you're interested in dual enrollment, you should be talking with your school counselor. Okay, so from that, you should have your core courses selected, you should have your top 6 ranked, you should have your top area up here with personal identification information up there, and any special notes or comments that you feel like we need to know when we look at your schedule. Okay, so with that, if you have any questions, you can always talk with your advisory teacher, the current teachers in your grade levels, or you can talk with your school counselor, either Ms. Matthews or myself. Alright, so I wish you the best with this, and when you're done, please remember to turn it into your advisory teacher. Okay, thank you.